with his eyes red-rimmed. The long-lost heir pointed a finger at my face in front of the entire senior class, screaming that I had stolen his life as a billionaire's son and that I should crawl back to the gutter. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud. He was really going to stake his claim without doing any basic research. That multi-billion-dollar fortune he was talking about? Every last bill was issued by the Bank of Heaven and Hell. Our family runs a funeral home, you idiot. Ethan, you've been living my life for 18 years. Are you trying to steal my fiancée now, too? Caleb Vance's eyes were bloodshot, his fists clenched tight. He was standing on the teacher's platform in our AP Physics classroom, with all our classmates watching the drama unfold. The most popular girl in school, Ashley Monroe, stood beside him, clutching his sleeve with a look of pure adoration. I was in the back row, cleaning out my ear with my pinky. How exactly was I stealing his fiancée? Ashley's family ran a wholesale floral business, specializing in wreaths. My family ran a chain of funeral homes. In our world, that's called synergy. Our parents got drunk together once and made some dumb joke about an arranged marriage. Caleb, don't get so worked up, Ashley said, her voice like honey. Ethan's just confused right now. Tears started rolling down Caleb's cheeks. Ashley, you don't get it. I suffered for 18 years in some backwoods town. I barely had enough to eat. And him? He was living in a mansion, driving luxury cars. Now that I'm finally home, he refuses to get out of my family's house. Every head in the class swiveled to look at me. Their eyes were dripping with contempt. Ethan's got some nerve. Seriously, stealing someone's life and then squatting in their house. I stood up. The legs of my chair scraped against the linoleum, a piercing shriek that silenced the room. I looked at Caleb. You want me to get out of the Vance house? That's right. You're fake. Give me back the billion-dollar fortune that belongs to me. Caleb's voice cracked on the last word. I burst out laughing. I honestly couldn't hold it in. A billion-dollar fortune? To be fair, the held bank notes we had stacked in 3 separate warehouses probably added up to a few trillion. The looks I was getting from my classmates turned from contempt to confusion. Caleb's face was turning purple. What are you laughing at? You stole my identity as the heir to a fortune, and you have the nerve to laugh. I walked to the front of the room and clapped him on the shoulder. He recoiled in disgust, brushing off his cheap, knockoff designer shirt as if I had the plague. Caleb, before you came here to claim your birthright, did you even bother to Google what our family actually does? He puffed out his chest, his voice booming with pride, loud enough for the whole school to hear. Of course I did. My real father is the chairman of the Eternity Holdings Group. He's a billionaire. He has dozens of subsidiaries across the state. It's a massive multinational corporation involved in real estate, wellness, and high-end specialized services. Ashley's eyes sparkled as she clung to his arm, her face a mask of worship. Caleb, you're amazing. I knew you were destined for greatness. Not like some people who live someone else's good life for 18 years and then shamelessly refuse to leave when the real owner comes back. The other students, sensing a shift in the social hierarchy, immediately started kissing up. Caleb, man, don't forget the little people when you're rich. Dude, you're going to be the biggest trust fund kid in Chicago. You'll probably have a couple of Rolls Royces just to drive to the grocery store, right? Floating on a cloud of praise, Caleb stood up straighter and pointed at me, issuing his official eviction notice. You hear that? Ethan, if you know what's good for you, get out of my family's mansion and leave all those designer watches and luxury car keys in your room. They're mine. I looked at his arrogant face and gave him a slow, deliberate nod. Eternity Holdings Group. It was indeed a massive corporation. The full name, however, was Eternity Holdings Group, Premier Funeral and Mortuary Services. The dozens of subsidiaries were, in fact, a chain of state-of-the-art crematoriums and luxury memorial parks. The wellness and high-end specialized services he mentioned, that would be our industry-leading embalming and post-mortem cosmetic reconstruction. As for the billion-dollar fortune he was so obsessed with, those 3 massive warehouses in our backyard were indeed filled to the ceiling with shrink-wrapped bricks of spirit money, all featuring the face of the celestial treasurer, issued by the official Bank of Heaven and Hell. Pick a bill, any bill. The smallest denomination was $100 million. Fine, I said. I won't stand in your way. If you're that eager to take over the family business, I'll be out by this afternoon. I reached into the side pocket of my backpack and pulled out an exquisitely crafted little paper craft gold bar, something I grabbed on my way out the door that morning to fidget with. I tossed it into his chest. Here, a little advance on your new allowance. I swung my backpack over one shoulder and walked out without a backward glance. Yeah, you better run. A pathetic fake like you has no right to compete with me. Caleb shouted at my back, his voice dripping with triumphant arrogance. I just waved a hand over my shoulder. Hope you enjoy taking over the family business. And sleep with an extra blanket. Our line of work keeps the AC blasting year-round. It gets a little chilly. 3 outside the school gates, I found a quiet corner and pulled out my phone to call my dad. Dad, your real son told me to get lost. So I'm gone. On the other end of the line, Frank Vance was loudly chewing on a piece of garlic bread. The sound was deafening. The background noise was a strange mix of a droning organ, muffled chanting, and the faint but distinct sound of professional wailing. What the hell are you talking about? You little punk. Where do you think you're going? Frank nearly choked on his food, bellowing into the phone. We've got a VIP service tonight at the Oak Ridge Crematorium. The old man Henderson, the tech mogul, his viewing is tonight. I'm counting on you to lead the procession. You're not bailing on me, are you? Not bailing. Your biological son just ordered me, in front of my entire class, to get out of the house. Said he was ready to take full control of the billion-dollar family fortune, and that I was in his way, I said calmly. Frank went silent. Even the organ music in the background seemed to pause for a beat. Caleb, what the hell does he know about a billion-dollar fortune? Can he even handle it? Does he know how to survey a cemetery plot for good feng shui? Does he know how to do reconstructive work on a trauma victim? The kid probably can't even tell the difference between embalming fluid and holy water. Now, Dad, that's not fair. He's the real heir, pure-blooded. Besides, he has to learn sometime, right? How else is he supposed to carry on your legacy? I paused for dramatic effect, shifting into my best salesman voice. And honestly, I think the kid's got a natural talent for it. Incredible lung capacity, and his voice carries like you wouldn't believe. The way he was wailing in class just now, the pitch, the raw emotion. It would be a crime against the entire funeral industry not to let him mourn professionally. Put him in as the headliner for the Henderson service tonight. I guarantee he'll elevate the tragic atmosphere to a whole new level. On the other end, Frank stroked his chin, pondering. You might have a point. If he's going to be part of the family, he can't be afraid of the work. Might as well throw him in the deep end. Great. I'll text him to head home and meet you. You can start his training. I hung up and looked at the setting sun, feeling pretty damn good. A quick mental calculation told me it was the 15th of the lunar month. A most auspicious day for viewings, burials, and breaking ground. The glamorous, billion-dollar lifestyle Caleb had always dreamed of was about to begin. For that evening, Caleb came home. Or rather, he came to the Vance family headquarters, the Grand Serenity Funeral Home's VIP Vigil Tower. The building was opulently decorated, designed to look exactly like a 5-star hotel. Caleb got out of his Uber, his eyes shining as he stared up at the gold leaf sign. He conveniently skipped over the words funeral home, focusing only on the Grand Serenity and VIP. I was sitting on a plush sofa in the lobby, sipping a cup of tea. Somber classical music played softly over the sound system. Caleb strode in, looking around in awe. Ethan, I knew it. You're still squatting here. He sneered, his face darkening when he saw me. Before I could answer, my sister, Becca, walked over. She was wearing a sharp black pantsuit, a small white flower pinned to her lapel, and holding a stack of service programs. You're Caleb? Becca asked, looking him up and down. Cease. That's me, Caleb said, instantly switching to a sweet, boyish smile. Becca nodded. You look sturdy. Good. Come with me to the back. The back? To see my new sports car? Caleb asked, his face alight with anticipation. Sports car? Oh, you mean the hearse. It's in the shop today. Come on, you can help me with a sticky cooling unit. The one in viewing room 3 is acting up. Becca said it without even looking at him, already walking away. Caleb froze. Cooling unit? What cooling unit? I took a sip of my tea and offered a helpful clarification. It's a refrigerated casket. The core of our business. Caleb's knees buckled. He dropped straight to the polished marble floor. This is what you guys do. Caleb's voice trembled. It's what we do. You're a Vance now, too. I corrected him. Becca turned around, her brow furrowed. Stop wasting time. The family is waiting outside. If we miss the viewing window, I'm docking your allowance for the month. Caleb shook his head frantically. No way. I'm not doing it. I want to see Mom and Dad. I'm the heir to $1 billion fortune. I don't move dead bodies. He scrambled to his feet and turned to run. Just then, the main doors opened. Frank and Martha Vance walked in, both dressed in traditional, high-collared black jackets. They were just back from surveying a new plot at the cemetery. Caleb, where are you running off to? Frank asked, grabbing Caleb's arm. Years of heavy lifting had given him a grip like a vice. Caleb couldn't break free. His eyes turned red. Dad, they're bullying me. Ethan and Becca are trying to make me move a corpse, he whined, squeezing out a couple of tears for effect. Martha walked over, stroking his head with a pained expression. Becca, how could you ask your brother to move a body? Caleb shot me a triumphant smirk. Martha continued, he just got here. He doesn't know the proper technique. What if he bumps or scratches the client? Have him start by shadowing Ethan in the prep room. Learning cosmetics is much easier. Caleb's smile froze on his face. He sucked in a breath, but it never came out. His eyes rolled back in his head, and he fainted on the spot. 6 when Caleb came to, he was lying on a sofa in his second-floor break room. I was sitting nearby, peeling an apple. He shot upright, gasping for air. You're awake. Apple. I offer him a slice. He slapped it out of my hand. Ethan, this is your sick joke, isn't it? You planned all of this to screw with me. The funeral home, the crematorium, it's all a lie. You just want to humiliate me, he shrieked hysterically. I sighed. I got up, walked to the window, and yanked open the heavy blackout curtains. The window overlooked the back lot. Visible under the security lights were a long row of gleaming, stainless steel refrigeration units, the tall chimneys of 3 industrial crematoriums, and dozens of life-size paper effigies. People, cars, houses, stacked neatly in an open area. A gust of night wind blew through the yard. The heads of the paper people all swayed in unison. Caleb screamed. He scrambled backward until his back hit the wall, clamping his hands over his eyes. Do you believe me now? I said, closing the curtains. We really are loaded. We have over 300 different styles of burial suits alone. I don't believe it. I don't. I did my research. The Eternity Holdings Group owns real estate, hotels, he stammered, his lips trembling. Oh, that's Eternity Real Estate, our luxury cemetery development branch. And the hotel is this building. These are the VIP suites for families holding vigils. I explained patiently. Caleb completely fell apart. He sank to the floor, holding his head in his hands and sobbing. The high society life he'd imagined. Yachts, champagne, supermodels, corporate takeovers. The high society life he got. Urns, spirit money, professional mourners, all-night vigils. The whiplash was too much. His brain just short-circuited. 7 the next morning, Caleb came downstairs with 2 massive dark circles under his eyes. He clearly hadn't slept. The soundproofing in this building was good, but you could always hear the faint, distant sound of someone crying. Frank was at the dining table, drinking black coffee and eating a bagel. Caleb, get some food. After you eat, you're coming with me to viewing room 3. An old gentleman passed yesterday, and the family wants the full premium service, Frank said without looking up. Caleb bit his lip. He suddenly rushed over to Frank. Dad, I don't want to do this. It scares me. Make Ethan do it. He's been doing it for years. He's a pro. I just want to be a normal kid and go to school. Frank put down his coffee mug. His face hardened. In the Vance family, we don't carry dead weight. If you don't learn the business, how are you supposed to take over? How are you going to manage hundreds of employees? I don't want to take over. Just cash me out. I want the money. Caleb blurted out. The air went still. Frank stared at him, his eyes sharp. You want money? You think money just grows on trees? This is clean money, earned one client at a time, by dealing with the dead with respect. Frank slammed his hand on the table. The coffee in his mug sloshed over the side. Caleb flinched, shrinking back. Dad, Caleb just got here. Give him time, I said, wiping the table with a napkin while adding a little fuel to the fire. But today's service is a big deal. If he messes it up, the client will be furious. Mess it up? He wouldn't dare. Frank glared. Today, you stick to Ethan like glue. What he tells you to mourn, you mourn. When he tells you to bow, you bow. Ethan, you keep an eye on him. You got it, I replied. Caleb shot me a look of pure, undiluted hatred. 8 Viewing Room 3. The family's cries filled the air. This was, indeed, a major service. The deceased had been a prominent figure in the city. I was wearing a simple officiant's robe, holding a small ceremonial bell. Caleb had been forced into a plain, white mourning robe and was standing behind me. Ethan, you just wait. I'm not going to let you look down on me, he hissed, his voice low and seething. I rang the bell. The clear, crisp sound echoed through the hall. Less talking. The family is starting the procession. Get ready. Caleb snorted. He cleared his throat, then dramatically threw himself to his knees in front of the casket. Grandpa, oh, Grandpa, why did you have to leave so soon? What am I going to do all alone in this world? He wailed, his voice piercingly loud. The entire family fell silent, stunned. The deceased's eldest son walked over, a confused look on his face. Excuse me, young man. Did you know my father? Caleb was crying up a storm, snot and tears everywhere. No, but I just can't control this overwhelming sadness. The departed has such a kind face. He looks just like my own grandfather. The son was genuinely moved. His eyes reddened, and he patted Caleb's shoulder. You're a good kid. Thank you for your sentiments. Caleb shot me a triumphant, challenging look over his shoulder. The message was clear. See, I'm better at this than you. I remained expressionless and rang the bell again. Caleb, emboldened, ramped up his performance. He started rolling on the floor in grief. Grandpa, take me with you. As he rolled, he bumped into the offering table next to the casket. The large ceremonial urn on the table wobbled. With a loud crash, it fell to the floor, scattering ashes everywhere. The son's face instantly changed. What are you doing? You knocked over my father's urn. That's a terrible omen, he roared, grabbing Caleb by the collar. The rest of the family swarmed forward, furious. Caleb panicked. I didn't mean to. I was just so overcome with grief. Security! Get this lunatic out of here, the son yelled. A couple of burly staff members came over, grabbed Caleb, and started dragging him out. Caleb struggled wildly, turning to me for help. Ethan, say something. I'm your brother. I rang the ceremonial bell one more time. The sound was calm and clear. My deepest apologies to the family. This temp is new and clearly not ready for service. I will handle this immediately. I gave Becca a quick look. She strode forward, grabbed Caleb by the scruff of his neck, and hauled him out of the room like a misbehaving kitten. 9 that night, Frank was furious. You useless screw-up of a son. If I hadn't pulled some strings and personally apologized to the Henderson family, you would have ruined our reputation today. Caleb was kneeling in the middle of the living room, crying his eyes out. Dad, it was Ethan. He pushed me on purpose. That's why I hit the table. He's trying to destroy my image in front of you. Caleb pointed a shaking finger at me. He actually thought that trick would work again. I walked over to the huge flat-screen TV on the wall and mirrored my phone to it. The security footage from the viewing room played in crystal-clear 4K. It showed Caleb, in all his glory, rolling around on the floor and kicking the leg of the offering table all by himself. Caleb, we may be in the death care business, but our tech is top of the line. We have 360-degree coverage, no blind spots, I said, leaning back on the sofa and taking a sip of water. The color drained from Caleb's face. Frank kicked him hard. Caleb crumpled to the floor. You dare to lie. You dare to frame your brother. You worthless piece of trash. Frank was shaking with rage. This time, even Martha didn't defend him. Caleb, honey, we have to be honest in this life. I'm very disappointed in you. Caleb just lay there, a crumpled heap on the floor, biting his lip so hard it bled. The look he gave me could have killed. The next day, Caleb claimed he was sick and refused to go to the funeral home. Frank didn't push it. You can't force a horse to drink. He let him stay home to reflect. Frank and I went to handle another service. Around the time school let out, I got a call from Ashley. Ethan, Caleb's in trouble. You have to get to the school now. Her voice was frantic. I frowned. What kind of trouble? Did he see a ghost? No. Some thugs have him cornered by the gate. They say he owes them money. I hung up and found Frank. Dad, I have to go to the school. Caleb's cornered by some loan sharks. Frank snorted. Go, and take the new company car. Make an impression. Nobody messes with Frank Vance's son and gets away with it. I grabbed the keys and headed to the garage. I hit the unlock button. The headlights of a brand new, jet black, extended wheelbase Cadillac hearse flashed. I opened the driver's side door, slid in, and floored it. The engine let out a low, menacing rumble. 11 The school entrance was a mob scene. It was peak dismissal time. Caleb was pinned against a brick wall by 3 guys with bad-dye jobs and worse attitudes. Ashley was standing nearby, wringing her hands. "You can't do this. I've already called the police." Ashley yelled. The leader of the trio just laughed. "Call the cops? He owes our boss money, fair and square. Borrowed 10 grand back in his hick town. Now that we hear he's a big-shot billionaire, the interest brings the total to 30 grand. The students watching started whispering. Didn't Caleb say he was some billionaire's heir? How can he not have 30 grand? Guess the family doesn't like him much. He's just a new guy, after all. Caleb was sweating bullets. "I don't have it. My dad hasn't given me an allowance yet. Go ask Ethan. He has money." Without a moment's hesitation, he threw me under the bus. The thug grabbed a fistful of his hair. "Cut the crap. You don't have the money today. You're leaving without a kneecap." Honk! An incredibly loud, deep car horn blasted through the air. The crowd of students flinched and parted like the Red Sea. A long, jet-black Cadillac glided to a stop right in front of the gate. The front grille was adorned with a massive, tasteful arrangement of white lilies. The windows were tinted so dark they looked like polished obsidian. The entire area fell silent. The car's purpose was unmistakable. I pushed the door open and stepped out. I was wearing a black trench coat and sunglasses. "Who needs 30 grand? I asked, taking off the sunglasses. The lead thug stared at me, then at the hearse, then back at me. "Ooh, who the hell are you?" Caleb yelled as if he'd just seen his savior. "Ethan, you're finally here. Pay them for me. Hurry up." He said it with such entitlement, like I was his personal ATM. 12 I walked up to the lead thug. I reached into my coat and pulled out a thick stack of bills. Not US dollars, though. These were held banknotes, issued by the Celestial Treasury. Denomination, 100 million each. I shoved the stack of spirit money into the thug's hands. 30 grand is an insult. Here's 30 billion. Go nuts. Don't be shy. The thug looked down at the money in his hands. His face turned a sickly shade of green. "You son of a bitch. You trying to mess with me with dead people money?" He swung a fist at my face. I sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and twisted it down. He let out a yelp and dropped to his knees. His 2 buddies charged. I kicked one in the stomach and grabbed the other by his jacket, using his own momentum to slam him against the side of the hearse. The impact made a dull, heavy thud. In seconds, all 3 were on the ground groaning. The whole thing was fluid and efficient. After a decade of moving caskets, I was a lot stronger than I looked. The crowd of students gasped. Caleb's jaw was on the floor. I dusted off my hands and walked over to him. Feeling bold now, racking up debts and expecting me to pay them. Caleb swallowed hard and took a step back. "Ethan, what are you doing? I'm your brother. Get in the car. Dad wants you home for dinner," I said, pointing to the hearse behind me. Caleb shook his head frantically. "I'm not getting in that thing. It's bad luck. Everyone's watching. It'll ruin my reputation." He grabbed onto the iron bars of the school gate for dear life. I sighed. I walked over, grabbed the back of his collar, and dragged him like a sack of potatoes over to the hearse. I opened the rear hatch. There were no seats in the back, just a long, carpeted platform with rollers, normally used for sliding a casket in and out. I tossed him inside, slammed the hatch, locked it, all in one smooth motion. I got back into the driver's seat and started the engine. And to the stunned silence of the entire student body, I drove off, my brother rattling around in the back of the hearse. 13 The sound of Caleb's frantic pounding and screaming echoed from the back. I ignored it. I turned on the premium sound system and put on a CD of Gregorian chants. Cranked the volume to max. All peace and quiet. When we got back to the funeral home, Becca opened the rear hatch. Caleb tumbled out, covered in sweat and pale as a sheet. He dropped to his knees and started dry heaving. "You puke in the driveway. You're the one cleaning it up," Becca said coldly. Caleb looked up, his eyes blazing red with fury as he stared at me. "Ethan, I'm going to kill you. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You've ruined me." He scrambled to his feet, and lunged at me like a wild animal. I didn't move. Frank stepped out of the main building and delivered a swift kick to Caleb's stomach. Caleb collapsed again, clutching his gut and howling. "Where's my money? Where's the $10,000 you stole from my safe yesterday?" Frank roared. Caleb's body went rigid. He thought he'd been so clever, forgetting that the Eternity Holdings Group was covered in security cameras. I used it to pay my debt. They were forcing me," he stammered. "Pay your debt? You spent all 10 grand on in-game purchases for some mobile game. Do you think I'm an idiot?" Frank screamed, looking around the yard for something to hit him with. I handed him a push broom. Frank grabbed it and brought it down hard across Caleb's back. His scream echoed across the property, so loud that even the neighbor's dog stopped barking. 14 after that incident, Caleb was quiet for a few days, but the hatred in his eyes only grew deeper. He was too scared to cross Frank or Becca, so he directed all his resentment at me. In his mind, I was the one who had ruined the life that should have been his. A week later, a disheveled-looking couple showed up. The man was missing an eye, and the woman walked with a severe limp. They stood at the entrance to the funeral home and unfurled a large, hand-painted banner. It read, "The Vance family are crooks. Stole our son. Now pay what you owe." Passers-by started to gather, pointing and whispering. I heard the commotion and walked outside to see what was going on. Caleb followed me out. The moment he saw the couple, his face went pale, and he tried to duck back inside. I grabbed his arm. "Where are you going? Your foster parents are here. Aren't you going to say hello?" The couple saw Caleb and immediately rushed toward him. "Caleb, my boy," the woman shrieked, collapsing to the ground and slapping her thighs. "We raised you from a baby. You get a taste of the good life, and you forget the mom and dad who loved you." The man pointed a grimy finger at me. "It was you. You stole our boy's life. The Vances owe us $500,000. If you don't pay up, we're suing you for everything you've got." The crowd murmured. "That family looks like they've had it rough. So Ethan really is the fake one. That poor other kid." Caleb violently shook their hands off him. His face was a mask of disgust. "What are you doing here? I already gave you the 10,000 to shut you up. Get out of here. Just go," he hissed under his breath. "So that's where the 10 grand really went." The man sneered. 10,000? You think that's enough to buy our silence? You're a rich kid now. 500 grand. Or we'll be here every single day until we run your precious business into the ground." With that, the man lay down flat on his back, right in the entranceway, closed his eyes, and played dead. The woman immediately followed suit. It was a classic, shameless shakedown. Caleb was frantic. He knew Frank valued the business's reputation above all else. If they caused a big enough scene, he'd be the one kick to the curb. 15, I looked at the 2 bodies on my driveway. I smiled. Playing dead in front of a funeral home? They couldn't have picked a better spot. I took out my phone and used the internal intercom app. "Team Alpha and Bravo, gear up and report to the main entrance. We have a walk-in. Priority service." Less than a minute later, Becca emerged with a dozen employees in matching black suits. They weren't carrying weapons. They were carrying symbols, horns, stacks of spirit money, and ceremonial banners. Becca gave a sharp wave of her hand. A brass quintet immediately surrounded the couple and launched into the most ear-splitting, chaotic funeral dirge I had ever heard, blasting it directly into their ears. The piercing sound tore through the air. The couple flinched and clamped their hands over their ears, but they stubbornly refused to get up. "Make it rain," I ordered. 2 employees stepped forward with large trash bags, grabbed huge fistfuls of held banknotes, and began showering the couple with them. A blizzard of fake money with astronomical denominations fluttered down, covering their bodies. "Light the incense. Bring the offerings." 3 large incense burners were placed around their heads, and thick sticks of incense were lit, shrouding them in fragrant smoke. A plate of hard dinner rolls was placed by their hands. The onlookers were speechless. This was a level of conflict resolution they had never witnessed. A physical shakedown met with a spiritual exorcism. The man couldn't take it anymore. He shot up, his face purple with rage. "What are you doing? Are you trying to curse us to death?" I walked forward, a pleasant smile on my face. "Well, you were playing dead in our doorway. Here at Grand Serenity, we pride ourselves on thorough, attentive service. Consider this our platinum stairway to heaven package. It's on the house. The man was shaking with fury. He swung a punch at me. "I'll kill you." I didn't even flinch. Two police officers suddenly stepped out from behind the main gate, grabbing the man's arms and expertly cuffing him. The click of the handcuffs was crisp and final. The man froze. "What is this? Police brutality. I'm the victim here." 16, I held up a file folder for the man to see. Rick Miller. Sherry Miller. "Do you really want to explain how Caleb ended up in your care? Because we both know the truth, don't we?" Caleb's head snapped up, his face a mask of disbelief. "What do you mean? They found me. I was legally adopted, wasn't I?" I looked at him, my voice flat. "You think it was a coincidence they found you? Caleb, they kidnapped you. They're professional child traffickers. Years ago, they were hired by one of Dad's business rivals to steal you. The plan was to sell you, but the buyer backed out because you were a sickly baby. So they raised you as their personal meal ticket." I let that sink in. And me? I was just an infant they found abandoned on the side of the road. To avoid trouble from both sides, they swapped me into your crib, the Vance house, and kept you. The crowd erupted. The woman, Sherry, panicked and scrambled to her feet to run. The second officer took her down with a clean, professional tackle. "Police, don't move. We have definitive evidence linking you to multiple kidnapping cases. You're coming with us." The couple, their faces ashen, were escorted to a squad car. The crowd of onlookers actually applauded. Caleb stood frozen, shaking from head to toe. He looked at me. You knew all along? I hired a private investigator the day you showed up. You knew something was wrong with their story, too. But you were so desperate for the billionaire lifestyle, you chose to keep it a secret. Didn't you?" My words hit their mark. Caleb's legs gave out, and he collapsed onto the pavement. All his schemes, all his lies had just been blown to pieces. Frank walked out of the main entrance, calmly polishing a pair of walnuts in his hand. "Caleb, the Vance family can afford to support a fool, but we will not tolerate a snake." Caleb grabbed Frank's leg, sobbing hysterically. "Dad, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please don't kick me out." Frank kicked his hand away. "I'm not kicking you out. Starting tomorrow, you're on the night shift in the morgue. We can talk about you inheriting anything when you've finally grown a spine." 17 time flew. Before we knew it, senior year was over. The day SAT scores were released, the entire Vance household was on edge. Frank even set up a small altar in the yard and lit incense for the patron saints of our profession. I sat down at the computer and typed in my login information. The page lagged for 10 seconds, then loaded. The score popped up, 1,600. A perfect score, top in the state. Frank stared at the number, so excited he crushed the walnuts he was holding in his hand. "That's my boy. That's my boy. You've made this family proud." Becca slapped me on the back so hard I nearly coughed up a lung. "How was your brain even wired? The plans to take Eternity Holdings public are all on you now." Martha, her eyes red with tears, was already on the phone booking the fanciest restaurant in Chicago for a celebration dinner. I just smiled and took a sip of my tea. This was all part of the plan. I walked out to the back lot. In front of Cold Storage Unit 3, Caleb was in a set of work overalls, meticulously polishing a refrigerated casket. He was thinner. The entitled anger on his face was gone, replaced by a quiet, almost numb calmness. 6 months of working the night shift had sanded down all his sharp edges. I walked over and knocked on the glass top of the unit. He looked up at me. "Congratulations. On the perfect score." His voice was quiet. "Thanks." I took a debit card out of my pocket and held it out to him. "There's 10 grand on here. Dad told me to give it to you. It's your salary for the last 6 months." Caleb just stared at it, not taking it. "Take it, and stop with the stupid ideas. You work hard, and this family will take care of you." I pushed the card into his hand. Caleb clutched the card, and his eyes suddenly welled up. He looked down as a tear splashed onto the glass of the casket. "Ethan, I am sorry. I was such a bastard. I didn't say anything. I just turned to walk away. You know," he said to my back, "working with the dead isn't so bad. They don't lie, and they don't judge me." I waved a hand over my shoulder. "Great. Now, finish up. We've got 2 donor bodies being delivered from the University Medical Center tonight. You're on intake." Caleb's body went stiff. "Me again? By myself? It's creepy back here at night. What's there to be scared of? You're the true-born son of the Vance family. Try to act like the heir to the throne." I pushed open the door and stepped back into the sunlight. Behind me, in the yard, the paper effigies swayed gently in a breeze. The story of the Vance family was far from over. Eternity Holdings was about to get bigger, stronger, and go global. As long as people die, business will never be bad. That's what it means to be a real billion-dollar family.